As promised, video 2. Today we're talking about the characteristics of the Antichrist. Don't be mistaken, this video is not so you can start looking everywhere for who is he, which one is he. The purpose of this is to understand the behavior, the actions he will take, so that if and when the day comes that we see him, we'll recognize him easily. However, this is also just to kind of get you prepared for the next part of the series. We must know this before we move to the next part, even though this is not what I wanted to dive into first. Kind of have to. Okay, all of us English speakers, anytime we hear the word Antichrist, we just believe that it means against Christ. That's not the case. When this was written, the Greek proper translation for the term Antichrist and how God intended it to be understood and meant is in place of or instead of Christ. Did you know that? So we do know as Christians that Satan is the ultimate Antichrist. The Bible tells us that he wants to put himself in the place of not only God, but also in the place of Christ himself. It talks about that in Isaiah. So if we look at Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 through 14, it tells us, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Okay, so listen. He didn't even have to say these words out loud for God to know how he felt. Pay attention to that. The details are where you see God working. He said, "You have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt," so on and so forth. This was Lucifer's secret plan that God saw in his heart. He never even spoke it. Did you know that, Christian? You didn't. Don't be playing. So if we're going to give any credit whatsoever to Satan, is that he is in it for the long game. This dude is playing chess, not checkers. He's not looking for a quick satisfaction. He is a planner. He is ready for war, and he is getting everything lined up perfectly so he will win. We all know he loses. But he's in this for the long haul. His intention is to set up an Antichrist system. He's been planning this since the fall. It's been thousands of years. So he's been working on generation after generation after generation, setting up this Antichrist system that's going to be into place, that's going to cause the fall of so many, and ultimately the worship of him, and then of course the fall of him. But we'll get into that later. What I want to discuss is the characteristics and traits of the Antichrist. We don't want to just bash him. Even God talks to him with some kind of respect. We're not respecters of him, but we're not going to just sit here and bash him because it really just doesn't do us any good. But to know who he is when he pops up, that's powerful. So let's get into it. In the book of Daniel, chapter 7, we'll start at verse 23. He's described as the fourth beast, from which the little horn of the fourth world kingdom, comes from upon the earth. It's the same kingdom as the iron legs on Nebuchadnezzar's image, which is in Rome. If you guys remember, that's the king that had the dream of the big statue in Rome and all the different things that it was doing, all the things that the different parts of the statue meant. So the little horn comes from the old Roman Empire. The little horn comes from among the other 10 horns of the Roman beast. That's Daniel chapter 7, verse 8. Meaning the little horn power comes into existence during the time that the Roman Empire is split into 10 kingdoms of Europe and rises to power after the split. Okay, now let's keep this in mind. The little horn is the little horn, which means it's going to specifically be a small, little bitty kingdom. Let's not overlook that. When Rome is split off into 10 kingdoms and the little horn rises up out from those 10 kingdoms and becomes the most powerful, takes over, something was happening there that everybody missed, or it wouldn't have happened. Now, Daniel chapter 7, verse 24 tells us that the little horn is different from the other 10 kingdoms of Europe. Why? Because this little bitty horn, Daniel chapter 7, verse 8, has 3 of the other kingdoms plucked up. 3 of the European kingdoms completely destroyed, in other words. Little horn's not so little. He is also going to speak great things against God. Blasphemies. Daniel 7:25. And that very same little horn is going to persecute the saints of God for a time, times, and half a time. Sounds like so much fun. In case y'all didn't know, that's 1,260 days of persecution of all followers of Christ. Well, prophetically. But it could also be 1,260 years. The little horn is going to change times and laws. Yes, folks, we're still talking about the Antichrist. Little horn, Antichrist. It's going to think to change times and laws. That's Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. Meaning this kingdom thinks it has the authority to change God's set times and laws. The audacity. Daniel chapter 8, verse 11. The little horn magnifies himself to the Prince of Hosts. Meaning this little kingdom exalts itself like Satan by putting itself in place of Christ on earth. Man, the person I want to call out right now, but we're not going to do that. Daniel chapter 8, verses 11 through 14. The little horn casts the place of the sanctuary down, casts the truth to the ground, and tramples upon the sanctuary and host. Meaning, this little kingdom replaces the heavenly sanctuary service performed by our high priest, Jesus Christ, with its own service and its own priests on earth. This little kingdom also tramples upon the truth and causes error to prosper. I'll take one for a reprobate mind. This little horn's power will be mighty, but not by its own power. Daniel 8:24. Meaning the little kingdom doesn't have any power of its own to conquer. It uses the power of the other nations around it to do its dirty work. That sounds so devilish. Some say there's only one kingdom that actually matches all of these things to a T. And that would be the Papal Church of Rome. We'll see. Antichrist is also known as the man of sin. He is called the son of perdition. That's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. Judas was the only other person in the Bible to be called that. The man of sin sits in the temple of God and professes to be like God. That's 2 Thessalonians 2 and 4. Meaning the man of sin sits in a leadership position, the professed church acting like he is God. This is where he begins to seek worship. Not yet demanding it, but he's fixing to. There will be another video coming up right after this, you guys, and we'll start talking about the sea beast of Revelation chapter 13. So I guess flip over there and be ready. See y'all there.